Jennifer had two massive, load-bearing pillars in her personal life. The first, her fiancé of 14 months, Julian. He was a classical cellist living in a house she actually owned and paid for. The second pillar was her younger sister, Vanessa, a brilliant brewmaster. Jennifer had protected her entire life, literally putting up 70% of the capital to fund Vanessa's craft brewery. Everything seemed incredibly solid. But, the sheer banality of how this solid structure collapsed is just striking. Picture this, a rainy Thursday afternoon, exactly 3 weeks before her wedding. Jennifer's looking for a misfiled insurance document in a guest room desk, and instead, she finds an 8-week pregnancy ultrasound report. Thursday, 4:12 p.m. The primary contact listed, her fiancé, Julian. The emergency contact, her sister, Vanessa. Just think about that. Only the weekend prior, Vanessa had been helping Jennifer build the pergola for the wedding ceremony, looking her right in the eye, talking about how happy she was. Just think about how you might react in those first moments of ultimate betrayal. Most of us would completely lose it, right? But for exactly 90 seconds, sitting right there at her kitchen table, Jennifer just watched the microwave clock shift from 4:12 to 4:13. She didn't weep, she wasn't paralyzed. Instead, her engineering training totally kicked in. She realized the structure of her life was already completely compromised. The foundation was washed away. And from that moment forward, she decided the only thing left to do was control the demolition.
That brings us to phase 2, securing the perimeter. So when a structure is coming down, the absolute first step is securing the site to prevent uncontrolled damage. Within a 40-minute window of finding that ultrasound, Jennifer executes a flawless lockdown. She makes 3 incredibly precise phone calls. Call number 1, to her attorney Priya to lock down the finances. Call 2, to the wedding venue, instantly canceling the whole event and forfeiting the deposit without even a second thought. And call 3, to her business accountant. She uses her majority stakeholder power to immediately strip her sister Vanessa of all signing authority at their shared brewery.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is this number, $43,000. By making that first call to her attorney, Jennifer froze her joint savings account with Julian. She locked down exactly $43,000 before Julian could even think about touching a single penny of it. The perimeter was financially secured. With her assets totally locked down, Jennifer packs up and leaves the house. But she leaves behind this chilling visual right on the kitchen table. She prints the ultrasound, takes a thick red marker, circles Vanessa's phone number, and places Julian's engagement ring directly on top of it. No notes, no emotional, tear-stained letters, just the raw, undeniable data of their betrayal. She then checks into a highway hotel, orders room service, and flips her phone to silent. As she brilliantly noted in the source material, explanations are for when the damage is still open for negotiation. Her structure was way past the point of repair. Around midnight, Vanessa manages to text Jennifer, desperately begging to talk. Jennifer actually replies with the hotel address, and what happens next is just a striking contrast in approaches. Vanessa arrives looking young, disheveled, and frightened, basically trying to rely on the helplessness that Jennifer had spent 32 years protecting. But Jennifer? She's acting with cold, calculated strength. Before Vanessa can even get a word out, Jennifer shoves her backward against a heavy wooden porch column with measured force, literally making the wood groan. She looks right at her sister's stomach, tells Vanessa it's the last thing she will ever give her, and just locks her out into the night.
Which brings us to phase 3, the controlled demolition.
Okay, so with the perimeter secure and the initial shock contained, Jennifer begins this systematic teardown over the next 5 days. The very next morning, she sits down with her father, Hollis, who actually happens to be a retired bridge inspector, and lays out the entire timeline of deceit. Sitting at his table, she fires off a clinical, straight-to-the-point email to all 114 wedding guests, stating the event is canceled due to mutual betrayal. When Julian finally shows up at the house, looking for some crack in her armor, Jennifer gives him absolute absence. Instead, her father meets Julian at the door. He tells Julian that while his daughter had built him a life, Julian had built her a coffin. And then, he orders him off the property forever. Now, we have to talk about the brewery. Jennifer held immense leverage over her sister's career. At Oxbow Malt Works, the craft brewery they co-owned, Jennifer wasn't just a partner, she was the foundation. She held a 70% supermajority stake and the primary signature on all accounts. As you can see, Vanessa's 30% stake gave her absolutely zero leverage when the time finally came to dismantle the business. This ownership structure was the key to total financial ruin for Vanessa. Over the course of 5 days, Jennifer takes 3 precise, devastating steps. First, she files for a formal dissolution of the business partnership. This forces Vanessa to either buy her out at market value, which was literally impossible for her, or vacate. Second, she withdraws her financial guarantee on Vanessa's luxury apartment, giving her a strict 30 days to face eviction. And finally, she calls every single developer and contractor she knows in the industry, stating simply that her backing of the brewery is permanently severed. In a tight-knit industry like that, her silence hit like an absolute sledgehammer. A few days later, the plot thickens. A guy named Theo, Vanessa's ex-boyfriend, calls Jennifer. He reveals that this affair wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a calculated 4-month deception. Armed with this new data, Jennifer agrees to a brief 30-minute diner meeting with Julian. He sits there bouncing between tears, excuses, and these veiled threats about the frozen bank accounts. She just lets him finish. Then she shuts the whole thing down with this devastating line. "You have my name on a ring, my sister in your bed, and her child in your future, leaving absolutely nothing left to negotiate." She walks out, never looks back.
All right, Phase 4, the legal wrecking ball.
The demolition was almost fully complete, but Vanessa makes one final, fatal error. She attempts to fight back with legal threats. The problem? Vanessa's attorney clearly failed to read the fine print of their original 12-page partnership agreement. Jennifer's attorney fires back a single response, highlighting the majority stakeholder override and this absolutely critical definition, the morality clause. This provision legally permitted the dissolution of the entity if a partner engaged in conduct that materially shattered trust or damaged the business's reputation. Sleeping with the majority owner's fiancé while pregnant? Yeah, that triggered the clause flawlessly. When we look at their contrasting approaches to conflict, it's fascinating. Vanessa and Julian expected a firestorm, tears, panic, messy emotional breakdowns that they could somehow use to excuse their own sins. Instead, they hit an iceberg. Jennifer just froze assets, reviewed contracts, and executed legal maneuvers. Faced with absolute ruin, Vanessa's representation completely collapsed. She was forced to sign a total settlement, taking a heavily discounted buyout and leaving Jennifer with 100% of the brewery. Every brick, every top line, completely hers. Finally, Phase 5, clearing the debris. Once a structure has been safely brought down, the job shifts to clearing the site for something completely new. In the aftermath, Jennifer sold the engagement ring to a local jeweler, and she actually used the cash to finance a solo, multi-week trek through the brutal peaks of Patagonia. She notes in the source material that, the anger definitely still hits her sometimes, especially regarding the sisters she practically raised. But through the whole ordeal, she never unraveled. She forced her mind to focus entirely on the physical reality of the very next step, ensuring that when she was finally ready to build again, it would be on an unshakable foundation. And that leaves us with this final thought to consider. Look, we all face moments where the things we completely rely on suddenly fail us. Jennifer Connor's story is a striking reminder that we actually have a choice in how we react. So when the foundation of your life collapses, will you burn out in a firestorm of unpredictable rage? Or will you embrace precision, secure your assets, and control the demolition? It's a powerful lesson in retaining your strength when literally everything else falls apart. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.